This is a quick just saying because that's all the time I've got is a few minutes. But I wanted to discuss we can't call them interrogations, can we? We really have to just call them interviews. The interviews being made by the Rexburg Police Department. These law enforcement officers are traveling to different jurisdictions in different states and using their facilities to interview people involved in the Laurie Vallow and Chad Daybell trials coming up. So what they're saying they're doing is trying to refine their knowledge, refine the evidence, refine timelines, etc. So they're interviewing all these cronies, the witches' coven, so to speak, and it's super interesting because you can see a whole lot of interesting connections and angles. And so I'm slowly working my way through. Many of you will have watched them already or will be watching them. And you'll notice the same thing that I do, I imagine, because it's pretty hard to miss. And it's probably the usual story when people have guilty knowledge or are concerned about their liability. They lie. They lie by omission, they don't recall, etc., etc. It's pretty standard stuff. But, these people that are part of the witches' coven surrounding Laurie Vallow and Chad, it's all the same pattern, isn't it? They remember things that feel like they're not dangerous to them, and then suddenly they clam up and they can't recall what went on in meetings, what went on during the castings, and they always state that their role was, well, really, this was to bring my goodness. It was to bring my testimony about what I know about the saving grace of the Lord. Or, I could bring my power of prayer. So that was my contribution. I don't know what everyone else was doing, but I was just there for good. And I was just bringing my goodness. This is what Christina and Zulema, etc., are stating, right? What does Christina's husband think? He was named Dark to Christina. What did she try and do about it? I mean, was the next step going to be that Zulema sold Christina an insurance policy? Because Christina was one that was often in these groups with Zulema. She's downplaying it, but Zulema, Laurie, Melanie, and doing these castings, and then she's told her husband is Dark, her husband who's unemployed. Christine's not going out to work. She's doing a full-time role as a volunteer person, so she's not supporting the family either. But, is this what Laurie used to manipulate Christina into trying to make her feel that her husband was Dark? He's letting you down. He's doing this on purpose. It's because he's a dark spirit. He doesn't want to work. He doesn't want you to have things. He doesn't want you to survive. Who knows? But, it's a pattern. All that happens is they go in and they're all just acting as if they're helping and they want to help, And then what happens is the little girl voices start coming in even more, and then the vocal fry, chirpy, little girl voice, vocal fry. You could probably see that pattern with Mel as well. I know they're really trying to upset Mel, upset that apple cart. The FBI should be investigating Mel and his involvement into the entire schmozzle, So this is not just advice he might give to the Coven about what to do around the death of Charles, but every other death. because he was in Rexburg in September and he was in Rexburg in October. It's just a fact. And he does have a sister there. This has come out in his interview. But the reason why he was going to BYU often in Idaho was to give talks, is to gather, to get people involved in his warrior ideology and to sell his books and his products and to gather people in to his belief system. And you can see too how predatory this coven was, singling people out for special treatment, giving them cash or offering them holidays to come to Hawaii. Laurie was trying to get Christine to go to Hawaii on a paid trip, because she wants to recruit. And she thought, here's a good target. And there's probably a sense of shame that comes along with being Christine, a sense of shame of being involved in this. It's as if she has been exposed. And so, of course, this brings about the need to keep reinforcing in conversation what a good, that she's a good person, a decent person, that she never knew anything, that she actually follows her religious order to this book and everything. Because, of course, people aren't going to want to be kicked out of belonging to their church group. They need more than ever now these temple recommends, etc. They don't have this special group. They don't have somewhere where they were leaping to in this huge leap of faith, possibly. They need to be able to spring back. Christine needed to be able to spring back into her marriage. We don't know. Did she ever consider leaving her husband? She was talking to him about the group. Just like others, they talk amongst themselves, say, I don't know, I don't believe it. But no one spoke up to the police department. So what does this tell you? Is this just pure confusion, fear, misunderstanding? Because if people had gone to the police, would they feel, was there so much doubt planted that they didn't want to betray people who had maybe showed them these kindnesses and these friendships and who had told them that they were special? It seems like they could see they were deranged, but seem to think that deranged persons in this instance aren't going to act out death threats, etc. You can't help thinking, would this have given Gilbert Police the impetus that they needed to save Charles? Would they have taken Charles's allegations against Laurie seriously if one or two or three of the Coven had gone to them to say, look, I just want to make a report. This is what I've heard. I'm not sure what to do about it. I think you need to know. Because death threats are serious and should always be taken seriously. I find it very troubling. I find it very troubling that people know about death threats, whether they're law enforcement officers or friends of someone making the threats, and they don't do something about it. Yes. Anywho, what was I talking about again? Yes, just, isn't it interesting, the patterns in these interviews? It's what we should expect. But I look at these people and I think what terrible characters they are, what low morals they actually have. What is it? Is it because they were such vulnerable people at the time, they were easily drawn in, and then, or is it the ones that are opportunists, knew how to use it and others were just confused by it, and now they're just simply embarrassed or ashamed. The fact that they are like this, it concerns me as to how much involvement they truly had. Who else died that no one is aware of could be part of this scam, of this cult, right? You know, what other deaths should actually be investigated? Who were they casting besides Charles? They know that children are called dark and they're doing nothing. They didn't even go to their church elders. We know of one letter that was written by concerned members of the congregation. Do you call it a congregation? I know they call it a ward. And the letter was stating that there are people recruiting into these groups that have bizarre teachings, that are running teachings at home that go beyond anything the church is teaching. And they told of their concerns, and the church just rubbished it. They actually just filed 13, did nothing about it. They buried it because why? Why? It means that not only were the Coven preying on people, you know, being predatory within the ward of, you know, within parishioners. I don't know what you call them. I was Catholic, and we have parishes, and you're called a parishioner. It means that not only were people being preyed on at temple and at, you know, the gatherings, the spiritual religious gatherings, out of the community of Mormons, it means that they were, you know, that they were preying on people in all sorts of groups. This is what I'm trying to say. Sorry. Not only were they doing it at conferences for preparing a people and a voice of warning, etc., that they were doing it in the church parishes to the congregation, and the elders didn't stop it. I find that really disturbing. Do you? I wonder too if the Christines and Zulemas and the Melanie Gibbs, if they realise that by not giving the truth now, so that the people who are trying to maybe give them immunity and use them to convict Chad and Laurie, I wonder why they don't realise it's better to come out now than in court from the prosecution. They really need to just lay their deeds bare, but of course they're over a barrel, aren't they? They can't show their immorality, and they can't show their liability. But it's probably still all going to come out at trial. Speaking of trials, the deranged witch of the South thinks that I sent her video about Judge Patrick W. Murphy to Judge Patrick Murphy. This is entirely not my MO. This is not something I have done. I made a video about Jules's slander of him, or is it libel, or defamation, whatever it is, when she is telling everyone that the judge is deeply involved with Barry Morphew personally, that he's probably in his pocket, and that he wants Barry free and unmonitored so that he is free to commit whatever brutal acts he sees fit. No, I did not send that video to the attention of Judge Murphy or anywhere else. I know Irene did, Rainbow